Budweiser, two of the National League's biggest surprises meet in Los Angeles. Let's go to Joe Buck for the Mets and the Dodgers.
One of the best stories in baseball, the Mets. They started the day 3.5 games back in the NL East. The Dodgers have fallen on hard times recently, but have led the NL West most of the season and hope to get back on track tonight. This is baseball night in America, and they are thinking blue most of the time around here with the Dodgers, but they have been blue. Sad with the way the Dodgers have played over the last 10 games, but this should be a fun matchup tonight. The New York Mets and the Dodgers on baseball night in America. And now welcome inside the broadcast booth, everybody. I'm Joe Buck. Eric Karros, Ken Rosenthal, both are coming up. And I said this is interesting because when you look at where these two ball clubs are, the New York Mets are right there toward the top of the East. The Dodgers have been right at the top of the West all season long. But as we get together, Eric, on the second to last weekend before the All-Star break, let's talk about the Mets and a club that surprised many. And they've done it predominantly with two veterans who've been so good all year long.
Well, the two veterans have been Johan Santana and David Wright. We see both of them today, but it started in spring training. COO Jeff Wilpon came into the clubhouse. He had underdog T-shirts made out for the ball club. They didn't have any expectations this year. David Wright said, I'm having none of that. Johan Santana, what's he done? He's thrown a no-hitter this year, and David Wright is having an MVP-type season. Remember, he was one of the stars of the game a few years ago. 4 straight years, 300 average, 100 RBIs. He's regained that form and is in the MVP talk right now.
Yeah, this is game 3 of this 4-game set, and so far for the Dodgers, it's been more of the same. I mean, right now, they're not scoring runs. They miss Matt Kemp. They don't have Andre Ethier, and their record is really taking a hit.
Well, the All-Star break can't come soon enough for the Dodgers. And remember, as late as June 29th, they had the best record in all of Major League Baseball. Right now, they can't get anything going. They're looking to score some runs, and as I said, they're counting down the days until the All-Star break.
And then they get some guys back. We're glad you're with us tonight on Baseball Night in America, where the weather is great. You can do some of that. You can do some of this. It's the Mets and the Dodgers coming up on the other side of the break. Next on Fox. perfectly cleared. We get ready for the opening pitch, brought to you by Budweiser. Great times are waiting. Grab some buds. There is Nathan Eovaldi getting ready to take on the Mets here tonight and try and get the Dodgers back on track. The Giants already lost today. So a chance to grab a share of first place in the NL West. Give you a look at the Mets Taco Bell starting lineup. Taco Bell, sometimes you've got to live Moss. They have Andres Torres leading it off, and Ruben Tejada had 4 hits last night. David Wright had another big RBI night. Leading baseball in hitting, Ike Davis at first, Lucas Duda in right, Daniel Murphy at second, Kirk Neuenhuis, the rookie, in left, with Josh Tolley catching, and Johan Santana on the mound for Terry Collins. And here is the right-hander, Nathan Eovaldi, who has yet to win this season, has only one big league victory.
Well, and that was his first career big league start. Now, he's fallen on a lot of hard times, hasn't received a lot of runs.
First pitch is a bit outside to Andres Torres, who was hitless in the leadoff spot last night and has not given the Mets what they hoped when they picked him up from the Giants in the Pagan deal. That's a strike. And a piece of that was Ramon Ramirez, a right-hander in the bullpen, who was not too long off the DL. Good breaking ball, drops in for a strike, and it's 1-2.
Well, you mentioned the breaking ball. Don Mattingly telling us before the game, if Eovaldi can get the breaking ball and changeup over, he'll be effective.
Jam shot, little pop-up out behind short. D. Gordon goes to grab it, and it drops. He's already made 14 errors. That should be number 15. He was there, and I don't even know if he touched it.
Well, and that's one of the complaints that the organization has had. D. Gordon likes to cover a lot of ground, has the ability to cover a lot of ground, but sometimes he gets out into territory where it is the outfielder's ball. In that situation right there, Herrera has to be calling for it.
And it's error number 15 on the year for D. Gordon. And this is stating the obvious, and that's an understatement. This is a Dodger team right now that can't give extra outs, it can't give opportunities, and it's a pitching staff on the starting end that has to feel like they have to be perfect to even have a chance to get a win with a ball club that scored, 2 runs over the last 5 games.
Well, and it is. The struggling offense has filtered over to other parts of the ballgame. You talk about the defense right there. During this 11-game stretch where the Dodgers are 1-10, only one National League team has committed more errors, and that's the Colorado Rockies.
Ruben Tejada at the plate. And he rips one foul down the left field line. Let's look at those last 11 games. They've lost 10 of them. They've hit a combined 177, 1 home run for a team that's hit only 6 the entire month of June. 15 runs over 11 games. And they've been shut out in 4 of the last 5 games, 3 of them compliments of the San Francisco Giants. Eovaldi steps off and looks at Andres Torres, who has stolen 8, been caught 3 times. Tejada was out 7 weeks with a strained right quad. And he's come back and hit. As I mentioned, he had 4 hits last night. And since the 1st of August of last year, here's a guy that's hit .318 over 77 games, and he looks like he's picked up the big league game awfully quick.
Well, he has, and he's come in to replace Jose Reyes, who went down to Florida, playing for the Marlins now. Done a nice job at short.
Check on the runner, a little bit more close this time, but back easily is Andres Torres. David Wright on deck. And the rookie right-hander, Nathan Eovaldi, 6'2", 215, just 22 years old, from Alvin, Texas, is ready with an 0-2, and that misses down and away. Mets come into this game 42-36. They're 3.5 out. Last check, Washington is losing their ball game. They're a game up on Atlanta. And Terry Collins is squeezing the most out of this team. Runner goes on a pop-up into right. Torres will get back to the bag as making the catch is Scott Van Slyke, 1 on, 1 out. Take a look at the defense for the Dodgers. You know, Van Slyke is in right. To his right, it's Tony Gwynn Jr., then Elian Herrera. He's in left. Uribe, Gordon, Hairston Jr., Juan Rivera with a battery of A.J. Ellis and the rookie right-hander Evaldi.
Well, and you talked about it a little earlier. The team that the Dodgers are putting out right now, basically a team of utility players, of basically some minor league players that probably shouldn't even be here. As Tommy Lasorda used to say, when you have problems, you know, half the people don't care that you got the problems, and the other half are happy you have them. And a lot of people are happy the Dodgers have problems now.
With 1 on, 1 out, a strike hits the outside corner to David Wright. Well, they dominated the division up until, what, a week and a half ago?
Well, you know who they dominated? They dominated their schedule, and their schedule presented them with teams like the Rockies and the Padres. They had a whole host of that in April. Those teams, obviously, not very good. They're getting into the meat of their schedule. Second half of the season, they're going to have to travel east. Now, this is a Dodger ball club also. Only one time has traveled to the eastern time zone. One time.
Well, they hope to be better fortified next time they get the chance to, with Kemp on his way back. Ethier is just day to day. He went down on Wednesday in San Francisco with a strain in his left side. You thought automatic disabled list, and they may get him back at the beginning of the next series.
You know, and there's another player, Joe, Mark Ellis, the second baseman. He's going out on a rehab assignment today.
Runner goes, a foul straight back by David Wright in the count 0-2.
And speaking with Don Mattingly throughout the course of this season, always constantly brings up Mark Ellis and what he means hitting in that second spot, what he does getting runners over, setting the table for Andre Ethier, for a Matt Kemp. And just as important as Kemp and Ethier are to this ball club, Mark Ellis has just as big an impact.
There's Matt Kemp, who has really grown up and evolved into a leader around this club. Tough to lead when you're on the disabled list. A pitch out. I've seen Torres take off a couple of times, and he stayed put on ball 1 to David Wright.
Hey.
Well, I said, Eric, that Ethier could come back at the beginning of next week. If he's not totally right, they'll bite the bullet and wait until the week expires, get the extra time with the All-Star break, and bring him back after that. Here's a 1-2. 2-2.
Well, and as well they should. It's just like when Matt Kemp went out with the hamstring injury for the second time. There was talk, well, he'll only be out a couple weeks and get him back well before the break. No reason to. Take the time. This is a long season.
Runner goes, line drive into right. That will be caught and might end the inning. The throw into first is in plenty of time from Van Slyke. And the double play, 9-3, erases the error. And Evaldi faces only 3 in the first. Bottom half, no score. Taco Bell, sometimes you've got to live Moss. D. Gordon leads it off. He's the shortstop. Then Elian Herrera is in left. Jerry Hairston Jr. at second. Rivera at first. A.J. Ellis has had a great year. Scott Van Slyke in right. Juan Uribe at third. Tony Gwynn Jr. hitting eighth. And Nathan Eovaldi pitching and batting ninth against the first guy and the only guy to ever throw a no-hitter in Mets franchise history, Johan Santana.
And he's dominated against the Dodgers in his career, 4-0. He's been throwing well. And right after that no-hitter, he had a bit of a hiccups, but seems to regain his form and is having as good a year as any.
Coming off a pretty good start at Wrigley Field. He allowed 2 runs in 6 innings. The Mets lost 2 of 3 to the Cubs, but they've now won 3 straight. The finale of that set, 17-1, and then the first 2 games of this 4-game series in L.A. Off we go in the bottom of the first, and a strike is poured in from Johan Santana. Here is D. Gordon, who is hitting just .225, low on base percentage, but the options are limited for the Dodgers as to who to put in that spot and at that defensive position. Strike 2.
Well, he's really the only one that provides any type of consistent speed. They tried Tony Gwynn Jr. up at the top. But this is where D. Gordon has to thrive. He has to be successful up here for the Dodgers to be successful.
2-time Cy Young Award winner gives up a base hit. And a nice piece of hitting by Gordon. He thought about testing Lucas Duda, who got to the ball quickly. And it's a leadoff base hit on a pitch down and away.
And see, that's all D. Gordon needs to do is put the bat on the ball. Strikes out way too much for the type of hitter that he is. And that's just one of those ego things where you just have to accept the fact, I don't have to hit it hard. I just got to put the darn thing in play because of my speed.
Just like you used to play.
That's right. The ego problem, yes.
1 on, nobody out. Elian Herrera, who has played all over the place, and finally getting a shot at the big league level at the age of 27. Ball 1 inside.
You mentioned finally getting a chance. Really wasn't in the Dodger plans at all, but the Dodgers have been forced to go after a guy like Herrera. And you look at where he's had to play. And this isn't because the Dodgers want to do this. They've had to do this.
Leadoff base hit by Gordon. He's stolen 24, which is a big number for a guy hitting the 220s. With a low on base percentage. Here's a bunt in the air. It drops and rolls foul. Strike 1. We'll give you the defense for the Mets. And there are no real surprises tonight in the outfield. It's Neuenhuis in left, Andres Torres in center, and Lucas Duda in right. Then right, Tejada, Murphy, Ike Davis with the catcher Josh Tolley, who had to beg his way back into the lineup off the concussion list and the disabled list when he caught the no-hitter at the beginning of this month of June, thrown by Santana on the first. It was against the Cardinals. Johan's 1-1 pitch. Show of a bunt, and then Herrera pulled it back as the throw went over to first.
Well, and I mentioned a little earlier about Mark Ellis coming back to this ball club. This is the position Mark Ellis would be in at the plate right now. Not afraid to hit with 2 strikes, taking pitches, allowing D. Gordon to get an opportunity to steal. And at the very worst, get a bunt down and get him to second.
Little pop-up into shallow right. Duda, a long run. He's there for out number 1. And with that, 1 on, 1 out, we'll give you the Ford Go Further keys to the game.
It's really not all that intelligent here, right? Keep kicking them when they're down. That's the Dodgers have lost 10 of 11. Don't give them any life at all. Dodgers, just for their own self-confidence, got to score some runs, have some sort of offensive output. And how do you do that? It's these sort of things. You got a guy on first. You're the second hitter. Your job, get him to second one way or another. Hadn't been able to do it.
Jerry Hairston Jr., whose brother is on the bench tonight for the New York Mets, is digging his way in. Ken Rosenthal is with us, and we'll be checking in on him during this first inning and throughout the night. Plenty going on around baseball, as the first pitch is high for a ball to Hairston. The tough thing, I would imagine, when you face a guy like Johan Santana, for a guy like yourself, a right-handed batter, is that the fastball and the changeup look identical coming out of his left hand.
Yeah, you know, I had an opportunity to face him when I was with Oakland. He was in Minnesota. And what I would do is get up on top of the plate and just dare him to come inside, to take away the changeup. And it's one of those things you can't cover as a hitter every single pitch that this guy is going to offer. You take one, you make an educated guess, and you stay disciplined enough to stick with it throughout the at-bat.
1 on, 1 out, 2-0 the count. Runner goes, a late break, throw down, and still a stolen base for D. Gordon. Did not get a great jump, but he steals number 25 on the year to tie him for the Major League lead.
And that's why the Dodgers are enamored with D. Gordon. You just can't teach speed. He gets on base. It's just a matter of time before he's able to steal and get down to second. And that's why this offense early on was much better than it's been as of late, because of the number 2 hitter allowing D. Gordon to get down to second. And then that middle of the lineup, Ethier and Kemp getting them in.
A combination so good, that 1-2 punch for the Dodgers, and they don't have punch 1 or punch 2. As they take on the Mets, 2-1 the count on Jerry Hairston. A swing and a miss on a pitch in the dirt. It's 2-2. Hairston's been so good against left-handed pitching this season, hitting .351 with both of his home runs against left-handers. On deck is the former L.A. Angel Juan Rivera, now playing first base for James Loney, who has hit his way onto the bench. Here comes a 2-2. Hairston gets out of the way of ball 3. You know, it's interesting when you say you, as a right-handed hitter, would stand on top of the plate and dare Santana to throw inside. He has not hit a batter all season long.
Oh, and that's the thing. When you stand on top of the plate, if they come in off of the plate, again, they're susceptible to putting you down to first base. And if he misses out over the plate, as a hitter, you got a chance to turn on something.
3 balls, 2 strikes, runner at second, 1 out. And with Gordon jumping around back at second base, Santana just watching him, time called at the plate. Full count, runner at second, 1 out, and a ground ball back to Santana. Looks Gordon back to the bag and gets out number 2. So down to second is Gordon on the stolen base. He remains there on the comebacker to Santana, 2 out.
Well, nice play by Santana to gather himself and look Gordon back. You see the runner not even out of the box yet. Santana knows he has time, not in any panic mode. Able to record the out at first.
Brings in Juan Rivera. Spot typically occupied by Matt Kemp, and you know this better than I, Eric, but if there is one guy in baseball that in a particular lineup or on a particular team is irreplaceable, Kemp would be it for the Dodgers. I mean, I can't think of anybody in the big leagues that's more irreplaceable than Matt Kemp.
Well, he just the dynamic that he provides. You know, he makes everybody around him better. They have to be cautious with Matt Kemp, the opposing team. You know, even if he's not 100%.
A step off, so no balk by Santana, but he got kind of tied up. There's Kemp, who has said, and we hope to talk to Matt Kemp during the course of tonight's game, that if he can physically play in the All-Star game on the 10th in Kansas City, he will. The team came out afterward and said, he's going to have to play in 5 or 6 games to prove it. That's fouled back on a delivery that was up. Strike 1 on Rivera.
And it makes a lot of sense. Look, as a fan of the game, I would love to see Matt Kemp out there patrolling center field. You look at him, the leading vote getter for the outfielders. But the reality is he's got an obligation to his team. He's got an entire second half, and the Dodgers are right in the thick of things. They don't want to go through a similar situation where they did earlier in the season where he comes back for a couple games and then right back on the disabled list.
That was Ned Colletti on your right, the GM. Stan Kasten, the team president, the new team president, in the middle of the picture a moment ago as the count goes to 0-2, and there's that good Santana changeup.
And again, you see the two, Stan Kasten and Ned Colletti. Johan Santana, again, when you face him, you've got to just sit on one pitch. If he throws you, if you're sitting fastball and he throws you 3 straight changes, tip your hat. But if you're trying to guess each time with him, more often than not, you're going to guess wrong.
Here's an 0-2. And the dirt totally can't find it, and now does as Gordon took a couple of extra steps. Ball 1.
And even Juan Rivera this year, he was instrumental last year, had some successes. You see A.J. Ellis, who leads this current Dodger ball club in home runs, with guys in the lineup today with 6. That tells you something about the power situation there. But Juan Rivera is only slugging .360. Hasn't driven the ball. Hasn't been able to produce as they had hoped.
Here's a 1-2. A little bit up and in. 2-2. To a guy that's driven in 24 runs this season. Dan Worthen, pitching coach for the Mets. Dodger starter Nathan Eovaldi hoping for a run. So are these Dodger fans. 2 balls, 2 strikes. That's in the dirt. Full count. On deck, as you mentioned, A.J. Ellis, who at 31 years old has really found himself as a hitter. Much more of a threat. Big on base percentage, 6th best in baseball. He's on deck, but right now it's a battle of Rivera and Santana. The 3-2. Foul. Just so you know, as we talk about the futility for the Dodgers, it's been 52 innings since the Dodgers had a lead in a ball game last. That is got to be excruciating for a manager like Don Mattingly, one of the best offensive players in his day with the Yankees. Here is another 3-2 from Santana. Squirter off the end of the bat. That's Murphy. That's the end of the inning. Each side strands a man, and after 1 here at Dodger Stadium, as Santana walks away, no score. sometimes you gotta live Moss. We go into the second inning for the Mets. It'll be Ike Davis and Lucas Duda and Daniel Murphy. Neuenhuis due up fourth if something gets cooking for the Mets here in the second. No score. Sit going to break, each side stranded a man. Only the Dodgers did. The Mets hit into that inning-ending double play with a runner going on a fly ball to right. And ball one is low to Ike Davis, who has started to turn it around, hitting 158 with 5 homers, 21 RBIs through June 8th. The Mets stuck with him, didn't send him out. Talked about it last week with Terry Collins saying it just didn't feel right. The team wanted him around, and it seemed more important to keep him with the big league club. And now he's figured it out as he shoots the gap in right center field. That ball hits off the bottom of the wall, and Davis will cruise into second with a leadoff double. He is red hot with 5 home runs over his last 18 games, a lot of extra base hits. His night starts with a double.
Well, he's starting to drive the ball. You see that's just a hanging curveball up in the zone. Davis gets a hold of it. Terry Collins telling us before the game that this is a guy that they were counting on for 30 home runs. And they still think that he's capable of doing that. Still got a whole second half. That's another 20 home runs, and that gets the Mets excited to be competitive the entire second half.
And to me, and I don't know where you weigh in on this, as Lucas Duda digs in. Runner at second, nobody out for the Mets. Down and in, scooped up by Ellis. He just simply talking about Ike Davis has to hit for power if this Mets club is going to realize the opportunity to win the division, and right now they're only 3 games out in the NL East.
Well, and what he's shown, as you just mentioned, in the last couple of weeks, there's no reason not to think that this isn't the Ike Davis we're going to see going forward.
Here's a fly ball into right, well hit. Back is Van Slyke in front of the track, makes the catch. Pretty well hit. Tagging going to third is Ike Davis. He's there with 1 out.
Coming to the plate, second baseman.
So Duda advances the runner, and Daniel Murphy, who has been hotter than Ike Davis, at least at the back end of this trip, digs in. He came onto this trip with no home runs, and everybody wondering when he was finally going to get one. He had a 2-homer game on Wednesday at Wrigley, and then last night hit his 3rd of the year.
Been swinging the bat well. Had a number of injuries the last couple of years. Finally getting things going.
Runner at third, 1 out, strike 1.
But that's why the Mets and Terry Collins feel like they're going to be in the thick of things. Ike Davis starting to swing the bat better. Daniel Murphy here starting to figure some things out.
So far it's been a team, Eric, that's been carried by their starting rotation. Here is a fly ball left field. Going to get it is Herrera. He'll make the catch. Tagging is Davis. And despite the great throw, safe, and it's 1-0 Mets. And A.J. Ellis tried to deke the runner, acting like nothing was happening, and the ball was bearing down on Davis. They almost got him.
Well, Herrera made a great throw, and as you mentioned, A.J. Ellis just standing there, not giving the runner any inkling that there was going to be a play. You see Davis hustling all the way and coming in sliding.
So Herrera shows off how good his arm is from left field, but it's not enough, and the Mets strike first tonight. As pitch number 1 is a 95-mile-an-hour fastball low to Kirk Neuenhuis. Hitting .271, they took a couple of days to try to get his swing right. Thinking that his hips were flying open and it was sapping him of the ability to drive the ball as the count goes to 1-1.
Well, just a lot of swings and misses. Already this season, 79 strikeouts. You talk to some of the guys with the Mets, and they'll tell you he's just looked absolutely lost for the last month or so.
Check swing on a ball up and away, and a count 2-1. Yet despite that, he's come up with some big hits. He's hit 7 home runs. He's got 65 hits. That's 5th most among rookies in baseball. And that chopper is foul. 2-2.
Well, and that's what they'd like to see, more of that consistency. Vitoli on deck.
One of the most popular Mets among the players, Ike Davis, has rewarded the front office with their patience. The way his season started, a guy who missed the majority of last year with a severely sprained ankle. And after a slow start, he has really come on. He doubled to start the inning, moved to third on a line drive to right by Duda, and scored on the sac fly by Murphy. That's foul. Still 2-2. Nathan Eovaldi brings home a 2-2 and then misses inside, full count. Neuenhuis trying to extend the inning for Tolley on deck. Got a pretty good rip at that pitch, still full.
A little surprised he threw a fastball right down the middle right there, because he is a guy that can hit one out of the ballpark. You don't want to just lay one in there, especially when you got the left-handed hitting Josh Tolley on deck. Still got to make a pitch here.
Hard hit up the middle and a diving stop by Gordon. Can't get the out. Did all he could, probably an ill-advised throw, but he was close enough. Rivera off the bag to save an error.
A nice job of getting there, but as you mentioned, probably not the smart thing to try to make a throw. Not going to get Neuenhuis, and only something bad can happen there if he gets by Rivera.
And now Tolley digs his way in, hitting .269, 1 home run, 9 RBIs. And a check on Neuenhuis, who's stolen 4, been caught 3 times. The Mets last weekend were losers in their series at home against the Yankees, lost 2 of 3. Went to Chicago, lost the first 2. Now they've won 3 straight. And that's kind of how the season has gone. Here's a ground ball right side to his left, making the play, and the toss for the out is here soon the inning is over. So a 2-out hit followed the run, scoring by Ike Davis on the sac fly hit by Murphy. 1-0 Mets after 1.5. How long come on this earth. Fox Baseball Night in America is presented by Budweiser. You a surfer?
Not a surfer. Done a lot of watching.
That's surfing.
Boogie boarder. Boogie boarder. Come on, yeah. Hey, what's wrong with that?
I know nothing. I wish I could do it. I don't have it. A.J. Ellis will lead it off for the Dodgers. 1-0 Mets on a sac fly hit by Murphy in the top of this inning. We'll have a game break coming up. We're going to hear from Ken Rosenthal, who is with us, and it's starting to shake loose a little bit, the trade market, as we approach the All-Star break. Kenny talked about Jim Thome being shipped from Philadelphia to Baltimore to help that offense. The Orioles started the day 4 out in the AL East. The Yankees won today. There's a strike behind Hiroki Kuroda, the former Dodger, in a 4-0 win over the White Sox. And Jim Thome is moving on with a 609 career home runs, tied for 7th on the all-time list. Team number 6 since 2009. Counts 1-2 on A.J. Ellis.
Yeah, nice pickup by the Orioles, too. Still hitting home runs. Had a few last week for the Phils. Just not able to get the playing time that he will in the American League.
Here's a 1-2. Ellis just got a piece. A.J. up and down, up and down, up and down. He's always been a good catcher, but didn't hit much. And now he's hitting .289. He's hit 6 home runs, as Eric Caro said earlier. He leads this lineup in the home run department with 6. That's how little power is evident. From Cape Girardeau, Missouri. And an 18th round pick by the Dodgers in 03. That's down and in, 2-2.
Sean Green right there, former Dodger right fielder.
Here is a ball in the dirt, a full count.
There's Sean. Former Met as well. Taken in the game.
Hit 49 with the Dodgers in 2001. He's watching as a 3-2 comes home, and it's not close. Lead-off walk. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Joe, A's and Rangers. He broke into the big leagues as a 19-year-old Dodger, now as a 33-year-old Ranger. Adrian Beltre is on pace for his 3rd straight 100 RBI campaign. 14th home run of the year, ties it in Arlington. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Joe and Adrian's former teammate.
That would be Eric Karros, and you see the AL West. The Angels lost earlier today as a pitch hits the inside corner, strike 1. Batter is Scott Van Slyke, hitting 162. Angels, who have been so good since Mike Trout came up to the big league level, lost 11-2 to the Toronto Blue Jays. One on, nobody out. Van Slyke hits it hard up the middle. Murphy a stop, out, over to first. Got them both. And a brilliantly turned double play by Murphy and Tejada. Bases empty behind Santana.
Daniel Murphy, not known for his defense, makes a nice play right there. And Van Slyke hit the ball so darn hard, wasn't able to get down to first base. Look at the nice flip. The thing I liked about that is he was able to gain his balance. Didn't panic, made sure that out at second base, and ended up turning 2.
Johan Santana liked it with 2 out, nobody on. The batter is Juan Uribe, who is not giving the Dodgers much return for their investment after he won his 2nd championship 2 seasons ago with the Giants. Gets under it and pops it up. Shallow left center field. And coming to get it is Nguyen Heist to end the inning. An inning that started with a walk. Double play ball followed. 1-0 Mets after 2. Back after this from your local Fox station. Today's game is presented by Bud Light Lime. Summer is calling. A look at Malibu as we play just outside of downtown L.A. Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium. 50th anniversary of Dodgers playing in this ballpark. Check in with Ken Rosenthal as Johan Santana digs his way in. The count, a ball and a strike. And Kenny, there was much more after that no-hitter. A lot's been talked about after the June 1st no-hitter against the Cardinals, but as is your way, you dug deeper and found out more about what Santana experienced after that game.
Well, Joe, Johan told me that his favorite text message after the game came from none other than his Venezuelan countryman, Carlos Zambrano. It said, on behalf of myself, Mark Burley, and Anibal Sanchez, welcome to the club. All three of those Marlins pitchers, of course, have thrown no-hitters. Now, his favorite moment, that came when he called his father Jesus in Fort Myers, Florida. Jesus picked up the phone and started crying, and Johan said he will never forget that moment.
Thank you, Kenny, and I'm sure his father liked the way he just swung the bat with a sharp base hit on a 1-1 pitch right back up the middle on to start this third inning for the Mets, who lead by 1. Andres Torres reached on an error by Gordon on a little pop-up out behind the position his first time up. Tried to hold up, could not, and this right-hander, who is, as I mentioned, from Alvin, Texas, that's where Nolan Ryan grew up. That town in Texas sounds familiar. Shows that good velocity like Nolan Ryan used to, not Ryan-esque in the upper 90s, but still, he's got a powerful right arm, and he misses with ball 1.
Right, big guy that's going to go right after you. Don Mattingly telling us that it's almost like he's a younger Kershaw. Just doesn't have the experience. Now, is he going to be like Clayton Kershaw? Probably not. But he's on that path.
That drifts up and away, and the count 2-1. Kershaw gets the ball tomorrow against Dylan G in the finale of this 4-game set. Kershaw is coming off a loss to the Giants, 5-4 on the year, but an ERA of 2.74.
He's thrown well, battled some foot ailments. He's still taking the ball every 5th day.
Strike 2. Torres hitting only .155 against right-handed pitching, but getting the start tonight. To the second baseman, Hairston, out at second and no chance to turn 2. So Hairston fed D. Gordon, and D. Gordon this time put it in his pocket. No chance to get Torres on a double play.
Well, the Mets will take that trade-off, get Santana off the bases. You see Hairston make a nice play to get to the ball. Good flip to D. Gordon, who wisely just eats it. But now you've got Torres on first base, and you have to believe that he's going to be running sometime soon here in this at-bat.
Tejada is at the plate. Last night had 4 hits. First time up, flied to right. And he was the guy the Mets came into the season believing he was going to be their everyday shortstop, and only injury has slowed him down as the Mets have started 5 different shortstops already this season, but that appears to have calmed down. And not only do they have Tejada back, but they have Ronnie Cedeno, his backup, back. He was on the disabled list, and he will get a start tomorrow against the left-hander Kershaw.
Oh, joy. You don't get the play, but go get him against Kershaw.
1 on, 1 out. And Eovaldi misses down and away, ball 1. The manager for David Wright's Mets, Terry Collins, was the director of player development for this Dodger organization for a 5.5 year stretch. Here's a 1-0. Fouled back, a ball and a strike, and it was under his watch as both director of player development and farm director that this organization cultivated players like Matt Kemp and Andre Ethier and Chad Billingsley and Corey Wade, who's now with the Yankees, and Russell Martin, who's now with the Yankees. So he knows this organization and these younger players, especially that guy on the left, Matt Kemp, very well. A check on Torres over at first.
And remember, Terry Collins, prior to his stint as director, was a manager in this system. AAA, back in the late 80s. There was a lot of talk that he would be the next in line after Tommy Lasorda. Ended up getting opportunities from other organizations.
Also played in the Dodger minor league system. Now he is wearing the uniform of the Mets after managing the big leagues with Houston, then the Angels. Had an 11-year gap until he took over last year for Sandy Alderson and the New York Mets. Here comes a 1-1. Runner starts and stops. Throw down to first, and Torres went too far. He's out. Out number 2.
Well, a nice job by Ellis and Rivera. You see Rivera catch the ball and just drop his glove down. Gets Torres right in the shoulder. Now, he's going to argue that he had his right hand in there. And see, if you're Rivera, what you'd like to do is just drop that glove right in front of the base. You see, get him right there on the shoulder.
And now Tejada pops it up. So Eovaldi gets around that leadoff hit by Santana and faces only 3 in the third. Bottom half rolls in. Gwynn, Eovaldi, Gordon coming up. 1-0 Mets. Boys and Girls Clubs of America, a place where youth can reach their full potential as productive, caring, responsible citizens. To learn more, visit greatfutures.org/Fox Sports. As this game gets into the bottom of the third for the Dodgers, it'll be the bottom 2 in the lineup. Which means Gwynn, Eovaldi, and then D. Gordon against Johan Santana, ball 1 outside. A Royals Twins update coming after Gwynn does something to start the inning. You've got Tony Gwynn, who is the son of Tony Gwynn. You've got Scott Van Slyke, the son of Andy Van Slyke. Jerry Hairston Jr. in this lineup. And D. Gordon, Flash Gordon's kid, all in the starting 9 for Don Mattingly. As Gwynn rolls one over to the right side for Murphy to his left, 1 out. Let's go to Matt Vasgersian for a DirecTV game break.
Joe, Twins took the opener in their doubleheader with the Royals. Joe Mauer's first home run in nearly a month, already the 4th home run of the game. So much for that ballpark eating up power hitters. Minnesota leading in the nightcap. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. Call 1-800-DirecTV. Back to Joe and Eric in Los Angeles.
All right, Matt, thank you very much. And it's Eovaldi batting with 1 out, nobody on. A big swing and a foul tip. That whole thing's been kind of weird ever since Joe Mauer signed that contract extension. He's battled knee injuries. He's battled the ballpark. His power has dropped off, and you wonder how much longer he'll be a catcher for the Minnesota Twins.
Well, it's either first base or it's the DH. And you mentioned the ballpark. I think that's had as much to do with anything. It's not a conducive place for offense. You start to struggle with that mentally as a hitter. You know, if you ever need to get well, get yourself traded to Colorado Rockies, because as an offensive player, you'll think you're the best after playing a month there.
Here's a 1-2. It's inside 2-2, and it's obviously something the Mets went through, and David Wright specifically went through. Jason Bay with the New York Mets. They finally brought the walls in, lowered the walls at Citi Field for 2012. 2-2 pitch is on the outside corner. Strikeout number 1 for Johan Santana. Kenny Rosenthal is with us. And Kenny, as we check in with you, there was a lot of conversation around the ballpark before tonight's game about the possibility of the Dodgers making a deal for Carlos Lee. I read where he was enforcing his no-trade deal to the Dodgers. What's the latest on that?
Well, Joe, he told reporters after the game today that he is going to wait until tomorrow to make his decision. Hopes to have a decision by then. He can veto the Dodgers, but he can't veto every team. He traded his 10-5 rights when he initially signed his 6-year deal with Houston in exchange for a more complicated no-trade situation. So if he says no, it's possible the Astros can send him to one of 15 teams that he cannot reject. So there is that. But there is also the fact that, hey, he's very comfortable in Houston and he might not want to go.
What a good play by Johan Santana. There's more to that conversation. I'm going to have Eric Karros talk him into coming to the Dodgers and what life is like here playing for the Dodgers in Southern Cal. Santana, nice play off the mound. 1-0 Mets after 3. Sponsored by Ford. Go further. As we fly you by the famous Hollywood sign, we are back at Dodger Stadium as the game goes into the 4th inning. And Well, you say it, Eric. You're the analyst here. I mean, is he the best player in Major League Baseball? If he's not, he's certainly in the conversation. Matt Kemp joins us from down, standing in the dugout on that top step, and I know it's killing you as David Wright stands in, took a strike, and now pitch in the dirt that you're watching yet again, and it's been a frustrating year with that bad hamstring.
It definitely has been. We started off really, really good. Then I went down, and they kept playing really, really good. But right now we're struggling a little bit. We're trying to find our way back.
Here's a jam shot, right side, and Hairston to his left makes a nice play. Covered a lot of ground, one out. I know you have, I don't want to say grown up, maybe that's insulting, but you have evolved over the years and are a leader on that Dodger team. Is it tougher to lead when the team is struggling the way you guys are, when you're not active and not a part of these games?
No, I think it's the same. I'm just sitting here trying to motivate them as much as I can. It's hard to do it from the dugout. It's much easier to do it when you're out there playing. But, I steady talk to them and keep them motivated and, kind of keep reminding them how good we are.
Batter now is Ike Davis, who doubled and scored his first time, ball one.
Matty, what's the plan of attack here in the next few weeks? I mean, do you get out on a rehab thing? Or
yeah, I'm close to a rehab. I think we're going to go. I'm going to DH on Tuesday in Rancho. And then after that, kind of build it up and get it going. I've been running and feeling really, really good. So I'm excited. My leg feels really, really good right now. So I'm excited to get back out there.
And is the tough thing with a hamstring, because you had it, came back, went down not too long after coming back, where a game is different and it's tough to simulate the kind of exertion you're putting on the hamstring?
It's definitely tougher to simulate. But, this is where we got to do it. We got to test it out and see if it's okay. And I feel like this time, hopefully I won't injure this thing again and let it keep repeating. But, I feel stronger and I feel good right now. So that's all we can ask for.
So if you DH Tuesday, what are the chances of playing Tuesday the following week in Kansas City?
I don't think I'm really going to be. I don't know if I'm going to be able to play the All-Star game. I'm going to participate in the Home Run Derby, but I'm going to get my games in rehab, and we're going to figure this thing out.
Yeah, it seemed like it wasn't too long after you said, no. If I can play in the All-Star game, I'm going to play in the All-Star game, and the organization said, wait a minute there, Matt. We just invested in you.
Yeah, it's smart. The main thing is focusing on the second half. I would love to play in the All-Star game. It'd be something I would love to do. But, the main thing is getting right for the second half and helping my team get to the playoffs. So that's what we're really focused on.
Do you have any inside info on who you're picking for the Home Run Derby?
Y'all know tomorrow.
Tomorrow's the day. You got guys lobbying you for a spot on that All-Star?
I had a couple of guys, but I picked who I wanted, and I think we're going to be pretty good this year.
Okay, so here's the deal. You're going to be there. You want to be there in Kansas City, which I love. Here is Duda with a foul out of play left side. If you are not going to play in the ball game, since you're so good and engaging and you're a veteran now, would you maybe work the dugout for us and interview a few guys during the course of the game?
If that's what y'all want me to do, I'll do it.
No, I'm asking you right now.
What do I get out of this?
You get a nice Fox T-shirt and a hat.
I need something else.
How about, I don't know, we'll figure something out.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We got about another week and a half left. But
a nice, crisp $50 bill. How about that?
Nah, I'm gonna leave a little bit more than that.
Okay.
Nah, that would be fun though. I need to work on my commentating skills.
How about a Tim McCarver autographed CD of him singing all the standards?
I'm sorry, but I don't even know who that is.
Okay. The inning ends. You just made Caro smile, and you made news. You're going out on a rehab Tuesday. Good to hear from you, man.
Hey, good to talk to you guys.
Get healthy. The game needs you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Bottom of the fourth inning. 1-0 Mets. Coming to the plate. They have the 2, 3, and 4 hitters against the left-hander Johan Santana. Strike one. It's funny, I throw that out with Matt Kemp and I get Neil Mulcahy, the Fox salesman extraordinaire, texting me saying, we'll sponsor the deal, we'll split it with Matt, all's good. You just throw out one little thing, and I think it'd be good to have Matt Kemp.
It'd be great to have him in there.
Here's a nice bunt by Herrera. What a play by David Wright, 1 out. What else does David Wright do? Drive the team bus to the park. He's doing everything.
That is unreal. You said nice bunt. It's even a nicer play by David Wright. And it's funny because at the beginning of the year, there was a lot of talk in baseball that what are the Mets going to do at the trade deadline? Where is Santana going to go? Where is David Wright going to go?
Right.
They're not going anywhere. They become buyers now with the way this team is played.
And we've talked to Kenny Rosenthal about that the last couple of weeks and who could possibly be on their radar with whatever payroll constraints they may have. Here's a broken bat. Ball hit in the air by Hairston Jr. and into the glove of Ruben Tejada. And if you haven't paid much attention, Johan Santana has settled right into this game. 2 out.
Settled right in. Outside of that ball in the first inning, D. Gordon just kind of threw his bat. He lofted it into right field. He's been masterful. And I think it's a combination of him being that good and this Dodger offense just struggling. And so far, we've got 2 outs this inning, only 3 pitches. Not a lot of patience.
Talked about it with Tim a few weeks ago. And by the way, I think I threw Matt Kemp a curveball, maybe the only curveball he hasn't hit this year, when I said, how about a nice Tim McCarver CD of him singing the standards? I don't think he put A with B together, thinking that could have been the Tim McCarver who has an audio CD.
Yeah, the Grammy Award winning Tim Carver, right? That everybody wants that Christmas CD, right?
Uh-huh. He's got 4,000 of them under his bed in Sarasota.
Tim going into the Hall of Fame, though.
Absolutely.
That Tim McCarver.
That Tim McCarver. Cooperstown bound. Here's a pitch down and in. The count's gone to 3-0 on Juan Rivera from Johan Santana with 2 out, nobody on. On deck is A.J. Ellis. The 3-0 pitch is not close. A 4-pitch walk, and the second walk handed out by Santana. All-Star Game festivities begin tomorrow with the selection show on TBS. Then on July 9th, don't miss the Home Run Derby on ESPN. And on Tuesday, July 10th, players arrive on the Red Carpet Show on MLB Network, followed by the 2012 All-Star Game right here on Fox at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. So there you go, from TBS to ESPN to MLB Network in that 48-hour stretch culminating, at least in Kansas City, with the All-Star Game on Tuesday night.
A lot of channel switching right there.
A lot of surfing, which we've already talked about tonight.
You don't do that, right?
Don't do that. 1 on, 2 out. The 0-1 pitch is a fastball, pretty good pitch. Called ball 1. We started to say, we talked about it earlier with Tim McCarver, that Johan Santana with that no-hitter erased a lot of gloom around this organization that had been hanging over it since the Bernie Madoff, Irving Picard involvement by the Wilpons, and where do they fit, what did they know, and trying to get money back. And as you said, Santana coming into the season hoping to get his trade value up. Where's David Wright going to end up? And now all of a sudden they're 3 out, could be 2.5 out. And they've been one of the most fun teams to watch in baseball in 2012. That's a high strike. Ellis didn't like it in the count 2-2.
Well, they have, just because there hasn't been a lot of expectation, especially coming into the season. Got a lot of young players. See this pitch up in the zone. Ellis doesn't like it. One of those old-time strikes with the strike zone. From the letters to the knees.
Ellis doesn't like it. You wouldn't have liked it. I think baseball fans should like it. Call strikes.
It's because they're not up at the plate.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's all right. You'll adjust. A strikeout ends the inning, and that's the second of the night for Johan Santana. Let's go to the 5th at Dodger Stadium. That's coming up 1-0. Sandy Koufax. And that painting of the left-hander who had his brilliant career here in Los Angeles 50 years ago today, June 30th, 1962. Sandy Koufax threw the first of 4 career no-hitters. He had a perfect game in there. And in that first inning, it was against the Mets. He threw 9 pitches, struck out 3, and that was a sign of things to come. Now, in that game, Mike Vergardner brought his son Bob. And now here, 50 years later to the day, the two are in the stadium as Bob brought his dad Mike, and sitting between them is our own Ken Rosenthal. Kenny?
Thanks, Joe. Bob, talk about this idea and how it got started, when you decided to come.
My dad and I were at the first Sandy Koufax first no-hitter on June 30th, 1962. And while we were after the game was complete, I was 6, my dad was 29. The game, my dad bought an ashtray and painted in the box score of the game, including Sandy Koufax no-hitter, and it's my favorite personal possession. So I always look at what's happening on June 30th, and it's the 50th anniversary of the game and 50th anniversary of Dodger Stadium, and they're playing the same team, the New York Mets, on this very same day, so we had to be here. And that's why we're here, and that's why we're sitting and talking to you.
Now, Mike, you told me before the game you were a little disappointed that Kershaw wasn't pitching because you thought with Kershaw history might repeat.
Well, that's true. I thought with Kershaw, a left-hander like Koufax, we might get to see another no-hitter. You know.
What do you remember about the Koufax game?
About the Koufax? Well, you know, it was during that whole series of games that the Dodgers didn't score a lot. You know,
kind of like now.
And yeah, kind of like now. Maury Wills was stealing bases. You know, he had that big 102 stolen bases that year and so on. So there was a fairly good crowd, as I remember. It was a nice Saturday evening, and a lot of go, go, go when Maury was on base. And after, you know, about the 6th inning, the idea that you may be seeing something special started to kick in, and you could hear it in the stands and the people talking, and you know, and so on. And it kind of built, you know, from there. So by the time you got to the 8th, 9th inning, every out was a major affair, you know.
And Mike, happy 50th anniversary.
Thank you.
Bob, to you too. Joe, back to you.
All right, Kenny, nice job. And Mike, by the way, will turn 80 on the 1st of August, and glad to have those two gentlemen with us here tonight at Dodger Stadium. A leadoff double, a hustling double by Daniel Murphy. Went to third on the ground out by Neuenhuis, and now Tolley has the RBI chance. He's 0 for 1. Infield is in. They got to try and cut down whatever they can at the plate. The way they're scoring runs, down 1-0 are the Dodgers, and the first pitch is a strike to Tolley, who has just 9 RBIs this season. That's Murphy. His bat has come alive, and the Mets are trying to win their 4th straight here tonight. Here's the 0-1. Outside, a ball and a strike from Nathan Eovaldi. There's Sandy Alderson, longtime executive in baseball. Helped build the A's with Tony La Russa, and then went corporate with Major League Baseball. Now back making the decisions with the Mets, and one of his most important decisions was who to put in the corner of the dugout leading into last year. There's a lot of sentiment for Wally Backman, who is managing at AAA. He tapped Terry Collins, that man, on the shoulder, and boy, was that a wise decision.
Well, it was a wise decision, and he went to Paul DePodesta, who is in the front office now for the Mets, and asked him who he thought, and he spoke and gave raving reviews of Terry Collins. They've been together in the Dodger organization. Sandy Alderson has not regretted that move one bit.
3 balls and a strike on Tolley with Santana, who has a base hit. No RBIs this season. A base hit his first time up tonight on deck. Infield is in. 3 balls and a strike on Tolley. And a fly ball into center will double the lead. Back is Gwynn, tagging and scoring easily as Murphy. And a sac fly by Josh Tolley gives him 10 RBIs. And the Mets a 2-0 5th inning lead.
For the Mets, pitcher number 57, Santana.
Let's go back to how the inning started on that hustling double by Daniel Murphy.
Well, it was a hustling double, but watch the way Scott Van Slyke gets to this ball. Now, instead of turning, he opens up, which makes it more difficult to get a strong throw into second base. He's got no chance whatsoever. He's got to get over there, turn his left shoulder towards the bullpen and wrap around and fire the ball to second base. You just can't go over there in a nonchalant way. Murphy at second. The Mets have scored 2 runs today, both on sacrifice flies.
First one was hit by Murphy. The next one scored Daniel Murphy as Santana takes a good fastball from Evaldi, who's wondering if life in the big leagues means pitching well and getting no run support.
Well, that's kind of been the pattern.
Santana grounds to the right side for Hairston. Gathers it in, flips it underhand. Santana was running hard down the line, but the inning is over. Another run for the Mets. They lead 2-0 halfway through it on a Saturday evening in L.A.
Major Eric Taylor, and we just wanted to say Happy 4th of July!
With 4th of July coming up on Wednesday, all of us want to say thank you to the men and women serving this country in the armed forces, keeping us safe and doing what they do, and I'm sure getting an opportunity to watch baseball when they can, listen to baseball when they can. And look at this, now that they know the Thayer Gardners are here, Bob and Mike, they're now signing autographs in the seats on their 50th anniversary of their date here. Sandy Koufax no-hitter on this date 50 years ago against the Mets.
You think they'll try to negotiate a fee with you there?
Like as an agent thing? I think it's a Rosenthal. That's got Rosenthal written all over it. 1 ball, 1 strike on Scott Van Slyke. He had his highlight with a game-winning pinch hit 3-run home run against the team that drafted and eventually brought his father to the big leagues, the St. Louis Cardinals, the last time he was up. 0 for 2 tonight, 1 out in the bottom of the 5th. And let's go to Matt, the MLB Network, for game break.
Hey, Joe, the Brewers have lost 5 of their last 6. Ryan Braun started play today, just 3 of his last 19, but very quietly, his 21st of the year here. Milwaukee leads Arizona 2-0 in the middle of the 4th. Back to Joe and Eric at Dodger Stadium.
All right, Matt, thank you. With one out, nobody on, it's Juan Uribe, who as a Dodger has hit .205 with 5 homers, 40 RBIs, and he has been thoroughly frustrated. Working a lot with Manny Mota, who's been telling him to try and not carry the weight of the world around on his shoulders as he's been looking for production after signing that 3-year, $21 million deal after his final season up the coast in San Francisco. That's a long run for Duda, and Lucas puts it away, 2 out. And the offense quiet again for the Dodgers tonight. This game, presented by Budweiser, is sponsored by Chevrolet, proud to support youth baseball in cities and towns across the country. 2 out, nobody on. The batter will be Tony Gwynn Jr., who is batting in the number 8 spot. And when you look up and down this lineup, you wonder where any sustained offense is going to come from. I know they don't want to rush Andre Ethier back, and they want to take their time with Kemp, and they don't want to rush Mark Ellis back. But this could be another thin week for the Dodgers going into the All-Star break with this kind of a lineup.
Well, and that's why it's so important to at least have a plan when you go to the plate and try to execute that plan. You don't necessarily have to get base hits every time, but go up there, take some pitches, work a count, put down a bunt, do some things that are going to at least force the other ball club to be cognizant of it. Just don't go up there and swing out, swing out, swing out.
I think you have to look at Don Mattingly in his second season as manager with the Dodgers. He was on Joe Torre's coaching staff. That's a strike. 1-2 on Tony Gwynn Jr. and give him credit for helping to guide this ball club through just a tough, weird year off the field last year, and the court situation, players talking about divorces. It just was odd from beginning to end, and now this year trying to weather the storm with all these injuries. A win tonight, they're tied on top of the NL West, but they trail 2-0 after 5 at home to the Mets. TV. If you call yourself a sports fan, you got to get DirecTV. This game goes into the 6th inning, and it has picked up with its pace since a long first inning. Johan Santana getting congratulations in the dugout because he has made it look easy. He gave up that leadoff hit. He has been good with his pitch count, 62. The bubble wrap is off Santana. They're not worried about him after that long night the 1st of June when he threw the no-hitter against the Cardinals, 130-plus pitches. Terry Collins isn't worried about him anymore as Andres Torres gets a base hit up the middle. We're underway in the 6th inning. So here's a Dodger team, Eric, that has not led for 57 consecutive innings. That bottom line there in our game summary in a 2-0 game, that is the longest stretch for this organization, this franchise, since 1918 when they were the Brooklyn Robins.
Well, you as a player, you just go out there and you're trying to make something happen. So then you're pressing more, you're pressing, and then you just can't perform. And these guys, it's a collection of guys that are trying to prove that they belong in the big leagues or that are fighting for their jobs, which makes it even more difficult to perform at this level.
Yeah, I just don't know how the whole idea of pressing doesn't snowball and hit every department on this team as they just look at the disabled list and wonder where and when their big money players and the guys that are paid to produce for this Dodger organization will come back. Leadoff man is on. The runner is going, and a foul on a hit and run. Tejada fouled it back to the screen. Strike one.
Well, what I find interesting in the last 11 games, they're 1-10. But 11 games ago, they were the best team in all of baseball as far as a record is concerned. Now they've struggled. Is this 11-game run here representative of what the Dodgers are? No. It's one blip in the entire season. They will get their guys back. That's why Don Mattingly is positive. That's why you just go out and you play.
Runner took a couple of steps. That's Torres. Came back to the bag, and with a count 1-1. Tejada will see another pitch. So we've seen a couple of pitch outs by the Dodgers to no avail. Tejada has flied to right twice. Here's a 1-1. Strike two. So the former Dodger, Eric Karros, is to my right, and injuries or no injuries, this is a weird time for this organization, the likes of which, at least the inability to score runs, they haven't seen here.
Well, they haven't seen it, but we talked about it during the show. They win today, they're tied for first in the National League West, and all you want to do as a ball club is play competitive games come September. This is a long season. You've got to respect the length of a baseball season.
I think what Don Mattingly said was interesting before the game as Eovaldi's paying a lot of attention to Torres over at first. He said, think about what the Braves did last year, what they went through. The Cardinals, the way they came on to win the wild card and steal it from the Braves. And in the other league, the finish that the Boston Red Sox had cost Terry Francona his job and exposed a lot of weaknesses on that team. Here's a throw down and a stolen base for Torres, who pops up and goes to third with nobody out. That'll be an error on A.J. Ellis, and for A.J. his 5th error of the season, a stolen base, E2, and there's another run 90 feet away.
Well, we talk about the Dodgers, and they've struggled offensively, but defensively as well. So their 2nd error committed today, and as I talked about it, during this 11-game stretch, only one National League team has made more errors. If the Dodgers were playing this poorly with Kemp, with Ethier, with Ellis, then there'd be guys walking around the clubhouse and within this organization looking to jump. I mean, that's just the bottom line. But this is why they've got some hope. You're talking about the best player in the game right there in Matt Kemp. He's coming back.
2-2 the count. Tejada grounds to third. Uribe looks at the runner. Gets the out at first, one away. Ken Rosenthal is with us. Stan Kasten-Kenny during the week, the president of the Dodgers, said, look, if it's something that comes down to money, improving this team going forward, we're in. The problem is they don't have a lot of tradable prospects that they can give up to get talent to help right now.
Right, Joe, but the one thing they can do, as you said, is take on money. And this is the idea behind the Carlos Lee trade right now. That's why they're trying to get him to inject some offense immediately. If they don't get him, there will be other options as July 31st gets closer. They also want to add a starting pitcher. This is a team that this week gave $42 million to a Cuban defector named Yasiel Puig, a guy that hardly anyone had ever heard of. If they've got $42 million for an unknown, they've got lots of money to burn.
Kenny, thanks. It's an intentional walk to David Wright to put runners at the corners and bring in Ike Davis, who waits to hit next, and now he'll bat first and third, one out.
Well, I think you mentioned talking about the Dodgers not having the young players to give up, but you know, Green, and I say green money, that can hit anywhere and it can throw shutouts anywhere, and there's an organization around that wouldn't want to take on some of that green in order to dump a salary. A lot of high-priced guys out there that teams are looking to unload.
Problem is, if you're the Dodgers and you start looking around, or if you're the Mets and you want to add to this ball club that has been surprising as Scott Albert, the left-hander, gets ready for the Dodgers, the Mets, there's so many teams in it with so much parity around baseball, you have to search for teams that are completely out of the race. Here's Davis, deep center field, back at the wall, and it's gone. An intentional walk to David Wright, and Ike Davis stepped in there and launched the first pitch of the at-bat for a 3-run shot. He is red hot, and that makes it 3 more on the board and a 5-0 sixth-inning lead.
Well, for Terry Collins, he talked about Ike Davis hitting 30 home runs. 19 away now. He's been hot. This is a guy that basically has been non-existent the first half of the season. Absolutely crushes that ball. Remember, David Wright has done all his damage without much protection this first half. Just think what happens when Ike Davis swings like he just did.
Here's Duda. He takes a strike over the outside corner, and so now Eovaldi, who struggled his last time out, lost to Barry Zito and the Giants 8-zip on Monday, has given up 5 runs on 6 hits. Hard hit off the glove of Rivera for a base hit. And there is nothing going right for the Dodgers right now. 1 on, 1 out, and we'll see how much longer Don Mattingly wants to go with Eovaldi. Mets have outscored the Dodgers 17-2 in this series, and now a visit from A.J. Ellis, the catcher, with Daniel Murphy, a left-handed hitter, coming up. That could be it for Eovaldi.
Well, and you talk about the 5 runs that the Dodgers have allowed. That seems like an insurmountable lead to overcome, especially with the way they've swung the bats lately.
Well, while they talk out on the mound, we revisit Thursday here at Dodger Stadium, when my partner Eric Karros and family had bobblehead doll night in his honor, and I hope that kid can hit.
They're the little guys.
Look at that.
They got out there. They said, "Dad, I didn't know it was this far away."
270 home runs, most in L.A. Dodgers history. Rookie of the year in '92 in that streak for the Dodgers where it seemed like every year you guys had somebody else that was Rookie of the Year. Mondesi, Nomo, you, Piazza. That's going to be it for Eovaldi. And I agree with your son. That is a long way to throw a baseball with everybody watching. So good for him, good for you. Carver, I do not think, has a bobblehead in his honor. Mattingly takes the ball, pitching change here in the 6th. to get really any run support at all. He won his major league debut last August 6th. He does not have any wins in his last 12 starts. Double switch as Adam Kennedy takes over at third. And Scott Elbert is on the mound in a 5-0 game. Mets on top. Runner at first, 1 out. Eovaldi 5 1/3, 5 runs, 7 hits. The only walk, an intentional walk, and no strikeouts. Gave the home run moments ago to Ike Davis. As Daniel Murphy, who has a sac fly, a double, a run scored, takes one on the inside corner, 1-1 from Elbert. And Ike Davis is as hot as any hitter the Mets have, or really anybody over the past couple of weeks in the National League. He has found his power. 1-1. Strike 2, good pitch. So Murphy, who will not make the start tomorrow against Clayton Kershaw, waits for a 1-2 and pops it up. Into left for Herrera, who wants it, has it, 2 out. That bobblehead that we showed you, if we did, found its way all over Los Angeles. It was in Beverly Hills. It was in Santa Monica. It was at the Vin Scully Star on the Walk of Fame. The Homer Simpson statue, that's at the Fox lot. What is that? Bob's Big Boy. And then Terrence Howard.
There's a lot of travels there.
The actor is there holding his very own Eric Karros bobblehead. So congratulations. The city has been lit up with your bobblehead.
Well, it's not a CD, but it's the next best thing right there.
Number 23. With that, that's kind of your finish right there.
That was my finish, yeah.
Think that looks like you?
You know why it does? It's got a messed up tooth on the left side, which I have in real life.
And a little bit of stubble. Check swing. No swing. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, it's interesting. I was at a Kings game during the Stanley Cup. I ran into the guys that actually designed the bobblehead. They were yelling at me, EK, and I wouldn't look at them because I
thought it was just another fan.
Well, somebody's going to say, you killed my fantasy team when you played. You were terrible.
So you were scared. You weren't blowing them off. You just didn't want to see what was going to come your way.
I didn't want to see what was coming my way. But no, I was honored to have a bobblehead.
2 balls and a strike on Neuenhuis, who's 1 for 2. It's a left-handed heavy lineup for the Mets. They've got their power producer from the other side, David Wright, but they could be in the market for a right-handed bat as the count goes to 3-1. Maybe the right-handed bat is Jason Bay. It hasn't gone according to plan. He's going to start running at the beginning of the week. He's had just exercise on the bike as he tries to make his way back from his second concussion in the last couple of years.
Well, and I think the Mets really have to wait for somebody like that because they're not in a position to go out and assume a large contract, obviously, with their financial situation. Terry Collins told me earlier in the week, you don't want to give up young prospects. You just can't do that right now. So it really is, this is what we got, guys. Let's go get them.
Strikeout ends the inning, an inning that featured a 3-run home run by Ike Davis, who now has 6 3-run home runs this season and a grand slam. His latest was pounded into right center. 5-0 Mets after 5.5 at Dodger Stadium on Baseball Night in America.
fifth in all of baseball in home runs and runs scored. Maybe this guy's a part of the answer. Cuban-born catcher Yasmani Grandal, first career start, a home run as San Diego on top 1-0. Arizona and Milwaukee, a 2011 postseason rematch. Wade Miley not having a good time of it. Ryan Braun's second home run of the game, making it 8-0 Brewers as we get you back to Joe and Eric in Los Angeles.
All right, Matt, thank you. Johan Santana, who is 4-0 in 5 starts with an ERA of half a run, now has a 5-0 lead. He will deal with Adam Kennedy to start the inning. Batting in the number 9 spot, then D. Gordon, then Herrera. And a strike from Santana, who has settled right in. Only blemish on his record hit-wise was the leadoff man, D. Gordon, who reached for a good pitch down and away and flipped it into right. That's all. Otherwise, 2 walks. A double play has been turned by the Mets tonight. There's R.A. Dickey, who he won again last night, 9-0. One of the most fascinating stories in baseball in 2012.
Well, he's got his 12th victory, as you mentioned. Only Tom Seaver in 1969 and 1970 had more victories at the All-Star break. Had 14 both of those years. And that was remember, that was the 4-man rotation. Dickey, he could have 13 by the All-Star break.
There's one guy who could pitch in a 4-man rotation.
Really
R.A.
good.
Dickey. The Mets have already said if they get into the postseason, and remember, there's an extra playoff team in each league, with an extra wild card in 2012, they will take advantage of the fact that R.A. Dickey, even at the end of a long year by throwing the knuckleball, can go on quote-unquote short rest.
And that's really not a team you'd want to face if you were in the playoffs, the Mets, just to have to face that type of pitcher.
How about this? You think you should start the All-Star game?
Absolutely. If I'm Tony La Russa, I'm starting him all day long.
Yeah, Tony La Russa, if you don't know it, is going to manage the National League side after taking the Cardinals to the World Series and winning it. And he, along with Dave Duncan, who's basically coming back out of retirement, and along with Dave McKay, who's now with the Cubs, and Mark McGuire will be a part of that staff, Jose Oquendo, and Terry Collins, manager of the Mets, will be on that staff. The question is who catches R.A. Dickey and how comfortable catching a knuckleball would, whether it's Buster Posey or Yadier Molina be, catching that hard knuckleball that Dickey throws. 2 balls, 2 strikes. And Kennedy flips one into left. Easy for, I say easy, is coming to get it is Nieuwenhuis. A late break to grab it, 1 out.
Well, and if Santana didn't need any more help here, look at those shadows. Now you see that group over there, the All-Star game coming on Fox July 10th. We'll be there calling it. But look at the shadows. Santana, again, has just walked through this Dodger lineup. Only D. Gordon with that leadoff single. But now just difficult as heck to see the ball up at the plate.
So 1 quick out. The batter is Gordon, and he takes a pitch down and in, ball 1. Santana, by the way, would be in line to work in that All-Star game if he is selected. His next start and final start before the break will be next Friday against the Cubs. Ken Rosenthal is with us. You talked to Tony La Russa about the catching situation for R.A. Dickey, and he didn't seem to indicate there'd be a problem for those guys to catch a knuckleball.
No, Joe, Tony told me last week that he was quite confident that Yadier Molina or Buster Posey could catch the knuckler if they were in the All-Star game catching Dickey. But Mets bullpen catcher Dave Racanello has a little bit of a different story. He took a knuckler off the side of his head in a bullpen session this week. He catches RA's bullpens all the time, and he says usually when that knuckler is on, he only catches about half of them. So it might not be as easy as La Russa thinks.
Well, if it's not easy to hit, it can't be that easy to catch.
Well, he's probably one of the guys that you got to get full gear on if you're going to go catch him for a bullpen. You know, you could use the old Bob Uecker theory.
Pick it up when it stops rolling.
You got it.
Go back to the backstop and grab it when it stops. 3 balls, 2 strikes on D. Gordon. With one out, a late swing spoiled the pitch, and looked like he had a tough time seeing that delivery from Santana. R.A. Dickey went 8 last night, and his strikeout totals are astronomical, and he was the definition of a journeyman before this season. Here's a little floater for Murphy. 2 out. Murphy back to his left to grab it, and here's a look back at last night's game and a couple of the knuckleballs that the Dodgers couldn't hit. Well, his 8 shutout inning.
Yeah, and what makes him unconventional from other knuckleball pitchers is he throws it harder. He's about 83, 84. Chris Young was throwing an 83, 84 mile an hour fastball on Thursday. Usually that thing just kind of floats up there, especially when it's high, and it'll drop down.
Here's a fly ball into center off the bat of Herrera, an easy out for Andres Torres, and yet again the Dodgers go quietly as we go to the 7th. All Mets again tonight, leading 5-0. Night in America is presented by Budweiser. 7th inning already, 5-0 Mets, and for the Mets it'll be the bottom 2, Tolley, then Santana. And back to the top, Torres on a pitch up and away from Scott Elbert, who finished off the 6th by getting Murphy and Neuenhuis.
Don Mattingly probably kicking himself after the intentional walk to David Wright and not bringing in Elbert then to face the left-handed hitting Ike Davis.
The pitch misses. 2-0 Todd Coffey, the big right-hander, is getting loose for the Dodgers out in their pen. Here comes a 2-0. Tolley takes a strike. Arms went up. It was a called strike, and it leads you to believe these guys aren't seeing pitches very well with the sun in the background and hitting out of the shadows. It's 2-1. That's foul, strike 2. As you look at the shadows creeping their way across the field here at Dodger Stadium, it is just after 6 o'clock here locally.
Yeah, and as a hitter, what was really difficult in the shadows was to pick up the spin on the ball. The guy was throwing any type of breaking ball as a hitter in all kinds of trouble.
It's Tolley trying to figure it out. It's a 2-2 pitch, and it's popped up. Left side, Gordon is out. Herrera is in, and this time Herrera takes charge, 1 out. Tolley 0 for 2 with a sac fly. It's time for the Just for Men auto stop foolproof stat. Ike Davis with his average, home runs, RBIs, average with runners in scoring position during the month of June. He has as many home runs as the Dodgers do as a team this month. And just as the Mets can count on Ike Davis, now you can count on Just for Men auto stop for foolproof results. 1 out. Here's Santana.
Pitcher number 57, Johan Santana.
Santana talking it over with longtime big league umpire Larry Vanover behind the plate. He's called a good game back there as he watches one go outside for ball 1. There's a strike. It's 1-1. Torres next. Switch hitter. He's been much better against left-handed pitching this season. That skips in. 2-1. Dodgers in the bottom of this inning will have the heart of their lineup, but these days that means not Ethier, Kemp, and that group, but Hairston Jr., Juan Rivera, A.J. Ellis. 3-4-5 for Don Mattingly. 2-1 the count. And now 2-2.
Well, and you got to give a lot of credit to this Dodger coaching staff for just trying to stay positive and keep this group afloat. And I know the hitting coach Dave Hansen is working like no other, taking this in all the time. I mean,
Santana has a hit tonight. 1 for 3, 2 out. And when you talk about the Dodgers, Eric, in the offseason, they signed Kemp and Clayton Kershaw to contract extensions. March 27th, Magic Johnson, Guggenheim Baseball Management, buy the Dodgers for the low price of a couple billion. April, May, 32-19 record, 21-9 at home, both the best in the big leagues. June 12th, they signed Ethier to a 5-year extension. But a couple of nights ago, they fall out of first place for the first time since the 5th game of the season, and Matt Kemp has missed 42 of the first 79 games.
Well, but again, as recent as June 19th, the best record in all of Major League Baseball. You know, we've talked about some of the other teams that have had struggles this year. The Atlanta Braves went on a stretch where they were 3-8, an 11-game stretch. The Orioles 2-9. These are teams that have had success. The Red Sox.
2-1 on Torres.
It happens, and these guys are getting key players back to the lineup. And this is a very winnable division. Don Mattingly telling us that this thing's just getting started. Arizona, San Francisco, the Dodgers, all three, they'll be there in September.
2 out, nobody on. A 2-1 pitch is high from Elbert. 3-1. On deck is Ruben Tejada with Coffey, the right-hander, in the bullpen. This could be it for Elbert, who has faced 4 and retired all 4. These are 2 ball clubs that have sent 15 players to the DL each this season. It's the 4th highest total this year. That is ball 4 inside, a 2-out walk, and we'll see if Coffey's coming in.
Shortstop number 11.
Mattingly is out, and so is Scott Elbert. Todd Coffey coming into the ball game with Ruben Tejada coming up. Top of the 7th inning. Mets at the plate, up 5-0. The bullpen, and the moral of this story is do not get in his way. What is he listed?
It says 241. I want to know which leg. I mean, are you kidding me? That's a lot of man running in, huh?
And he's trying to finish off the top of the 7th inning with the Mets. And Ruben Tejada, their good young shortstop, coming to the plate. 1 on, 2 out. Tejada hitless in this game. You're not buying the 241.
That's being generous.
Dodgers have a guy that wears number 60, and Mets have a guy that wears number 60. 6'11" John Roush.
It's the big man number.
Those are big jerseys. 1 on, 2 out. Tejada waits for the first pitch from Todd Coffey. 91 from number 60. Strike 1.
Yeah, not a lot of fun to hit against. Big man, looks like he's right on top of you. Good movement.
Here comes an 0-1 pitch. 2 quick strikes on Tejada, who's flied to right and grounded out.
You can see a lot of movement on his pitches, just diving out of the zone. Look, the Dodgers' strength this year has been their starting staff, has been their bullpen. And that's why they've been in a ton of games. But as of late, even though the offense has struggled, pitching has not been as good either. 20th in the league in these last 11 games.
On 0-2, Tejada just got a piece.
And Don Mattingly telling us before the game that, you know, these pitchers feel a lot of the pressure. He was mentioning how Clayton Kershaw the other day in San Francisco gave up a run, and he felt like, oh man, I gave up a run. And it's because the offense just can't put anything on the board. Makes everything a lot more difficult. There's Clayton, Ted Lilly. They lost him at the beginning of the year. He started off extremely well. Not sure when he comes back, if at all.
1 on, 2 out. The 0-2 is swing and a miss by Tejada, and it's time to stretch. Here at Dodger Stadium, he's already stretching. He got a head start. A look at downtown L.A. We're at Dodger Stadium with the Mets lead 5-0. You only from Verizon. Beautiful night in Los Angeles, and we look ahead to next week. Baseball night in America. There are the matchups: the Yankees, Red Sox, the Braves and Phillies, the Twins, and the first place Rangers. That's next Saturday, 7 Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. And that telecast is also presented by Budweiser. Check local listings for the game and start time in your area. Got a one-hitter going from Johan Santana, and the only hit came back in the first inning. First batter, D. Gordon, with 2 strikes. Flipped it into right on a good pitch down and away. You look at what happened 50 years ago today, Dodgers and Mets. Sandy Koufax throwing a no-hitter. We won't have that, but on the other side now, it's the Mets having the fun at the Dodgers' expense, and it's Johan Santana who threw a no-hitter on the 1st of June, trying to finish and bookend this month in brilliant fashion with a dominant effort against the Dodgers here tonight.
Well, dominant's an understatement. The Dodgers, I can't even recall them hitting a ball hard and in a line out or the deep fly ball or anything like that. You mentioned the hit that D. Gordon got to lead the game off was basically just a let me throw the bat out there and try and make some contact.
What do you think, Eric, of new ownership here with the Dodgers as a guy who won a Rookie of the Year award with his franchise, and where this team and this organization was with the McCourts and how ugly that ending was, and now where they are as a group with Magic Johnson, with Guggenheim Baseball? What are your thoughts?
Well, you mentioned those names. I think Stan Kasten is going to be the integral part here. A baseball executive, a lot of experience. But what people are going to have to be is patient. It's not going to happen overnight. You see Stan Kasten right there. And it's very easy for people to get all caught up in everything and want everything right now. But this is going to be an organization where players are going to want to come, fans are coming back, and people will be proud to say they're fans of the Los Angeles Dodgers.
First pitch is a strike to Jerry Hairston Jr. With his brother watching from the other dugout, that pitch is high, a ball and a strike. It'll be Hairston Jr., then Rivera, then A.J. Ellis. Scott Van Slyke due up 4th in the inning if the Dodgers get anybody on, and they haven't done that since a 2-out walk back in the 4th. That's way foul. Strike 2.
When I said these Dodger hitters, they're out working. They're looking at video. It almost gets to a point that you just want to just show up at the ballpark and just strap it on and go play. Forget all the batting. You've got to just change something up. Forget the batting practice. Forget the video. Just try and just change it up.
Here's a floater into shallow right. Out goes Daniel Murphy, 1 out, and these outs have been quiet.
Well, nothing hard hit. I mean, absolutely nothing. And I know, I remember, back to when I played. Let me tell you a story back. But Bill Russell, I was struggling. He said, look, it's a 7:05 game. Show up at 6:15, go out and play. And I swear, I went through the turnstiles here at Dodger Stadium, walked through the crowd, went down to the clubhouse, got dressed, and went out and played. Had a great game. You know what I did the next night? Came in at 6:15, walked through the turnstiles, walked through and it's just stuff like that. You just got to do something to break up the monotony.
First pitch is a ball up and away to Juan Rivera. I would imagine that's hard to give up, though. The security blanket of video work, of batting practice. The Dodgers did not take batting practice on the field today before the game. They had picture day with the fans, so that wasn't a part of it. They went out, took pictures with fans out in the outfield. Something you did. That's a yearly thing out here.
It's a yearly thing. It's great for the fans, but I'll tell you what, as a player, that messes up the routine. And you're out there walking around, you're standing on your feet, you're taking pictures, you're being friendly, and then you go out and play a game. And I'd venture to say, if you look historically at all the teams that have that home picture day, what their record is that day, I bet you it's not very good.
1 ball, 2 strikes on Juan Rivera, who is 0 for 1 with a walk in this game, and this one's foul, still 1-2. Santana trying to get through 7. Hasn't had much fun since the no-hitter on the first. Pretty good his last time out against the Cubs. Dominant here tonight against the Dodgers. That's slashed foul.
You know, if you're the Dodgers as well, you haven't been swinging the bats well. You get R.A. Dickey, the knuckleballer, last night. You get Santana today. You've got a late start tomorrow in the shadows. That's just got fun written all over it, all 3 days.
1 ball, 2 strikes with 1 out. Good pitch in on the hands, and Rivera fouled it off his foot or leg, and it's still 1-2. Well, you were talking about that with Don Mattingly. Are you doing anything to try and change up the routine? And this game can become so routine-oriented, especially for players. You start messing with that, and it's got to be an uneasy, uncomfortable feeling.
Well, when the routine isn't working, there's nothing wrong with trying to mix things up. And there's a ton of different ways to mix things up, whether it's just your preparation for a game, whether it's doing some crazy things, whether it's getting together as a group. There's a whole host of things, and all it is just to try and not make the situation seem so serious. You see Juan Rivera got the shin guard on right off his shin.
You guys were creative with how you tried to stop slumps.
We were.
In your day.
Yeah, we were. We had a trainer, Stan Johnston, that we had some real struggles, and he'd come into the clubhouse, a song from South Park, Isaac Hayes made popular.
I think we
chocolate salty something.
And we probably just stop.
No, we can go with it. He'd come in, he'd have his hat on, his cowboy boots, and he'd get the clubhouse rolling, and we'd get going, and everybody would be fired up, and we won, and we did it 7 nights in a row. Stan Johnston do a song and come in and dance the night away.
Here is a little pop-up, thankfully, on the right side of the infield to end that story 2 out. How about some famous owners in the history of Major League Baseball? Not all of them, but Bing Crosby had a piece of the Pirates. 1946 through 77, Bob Hope, almost to his death, part of the Indians starting in 46. Gene Autry, obviously down the coast with the Angels. Now Magic Johnson with the Dodgers. And Bill Maher, comedian and performer on HBO, now with the New York Mets, buying a piece. Longtime Mets fan. Magic Johnson certainly brings a famous, well-known face to this Dodger franchise, and trying to get a little bit of goodwill back in the community after an ugly time at the end with the McCourts. Here's a 2-hopper to the shortstop, Tejada, and the inning is over. A 1-2-3-7 for Johan Santana. And a peek inside the Dodger clubhouse here in Los Angeles, where the Mets lead 5-0. Into the 8th we go. Budweiser. They've got it all here in Los Angeles. Everybody's a performer.
That's a good look right there. Actually, it's not, but he's pulling it off.
8th inning as David Wright steps in. He was not an all-star last year, but he had a run of 5 straight. And he is likely headed back to the all-star game on the 10th in Kansas City as Josh Lindblom, the right-hander, gets loose. We're in the top of the 8th inning, 5-0 Mets. Roush off the mound. Cat-like reflexes, 1 out. Rather coffee, and that's 1 out. We'll go to Matt now for a game break.
Joe, a 96-degree day in Arlington, and Josh Hamilton's heating up as well. 3rd home run in his last 6 games. 25 on the year has him one off the major league lead. Rangers on top of the A's, and the price of poker in the Josh Hamilton impending free agent poker game is going up with every swing. Back to Joe and Eric in L.A.
Yeah, that's another guy who was like Pujols last year. Every day you waited, the price became more steep. And for Josh Hamilton, 25 home runs, and as popular as anybody that's come along in a long time. I think he's going to set a record for All-Star Game votes for 7+ million votes.
Yeah, he's good time to be Josh Hamilton will be come November. No question about it. I don't know how he doesn't play in Texas. But I said that last year about Albert Pujols. I don't know how he plays anywhere other than St. Louis.
Todd Coffey has fallen behind Ike Davis 2-0. Ike has had a double, a run scored, a 3-run shot. We can show you the leading vote getters, the American League as of Monday. Told you they're going to announce on TBS the All-Stars on Sunday. And there you go. And there's 7.3 million for Josh Hamilton in the outfield, by far the top vote getter in the game.
And we've talked about the best player in the game. We've mentioned Matt Kemp a number of times, but there are a lot of people that would argue it's that man right there, Josh Hamilton.
2 balls and a strike on Ike Davis. Coffey ready with another, and that's on the outside corner, 2-2. On deck is Lucas Duda. Bottom of the inning, it'll be Van Slyke, the pitcher's spot, then Tony Gwynn. So Don Mattingly would like to get Coffey through this 8th and lift him for a pinch hitter in the bottom half. Will that stay in play? Looks like it. Adam Kennedy from third base, 2 out. I'm just told in my ear that Ken Rosenthal has an idea. Kenny, what is it?
Well, it might be a little bit outlandish, but how about an outfield of Matt Kemp, Andre Ethier, and Josh Hamilton? Now, that's a ton of money you'd be putting in the outfield. They just gave the Cuban player, as I said, $42 million, but Dodgers team president Stan Kasten has said, hey, we're going to be in on everybody. Widespread expectation is that they're going to strongly pursue Cole Hamels, but who knows what the Dodgers might do.
Going to be a little different budget for Mr. Coletti going forward.
Well, it's not my money. It's not your money. And if you're a fan of the Dodgers, heck, go out and get Josh Hamilton. Get Cole Hamels, too, while you're at it.
I think Cole Hamels is going to be unloaded upon. I mean, when you consider that he's the guy that may walk away from Philly, the youngest of that group, a left-hander who has really blossomed, and a guy who was an MVP of the World Series in the NLCS when they played the Dodgers, and they won it all. I mean, he's just entering his prime.
Well, and remember, he's from Southern California, grew up in San Diego. Makes a lot of sense to come here, pitch in this division, which really the ballparks favor the pitchers.
Yeah, pitch in this park. I wonder if that factors into the decision by Carlos Lee, not wanting to come here from that tiny ballpark in Houston.
Well, if you've only hit a couple of home runs playing in the National League Central and playing specifically in Houston, and it's your walk year, you don't want to come here and play because this isn't conducive to offense. As I mentioned, the division with the Giants and the Padres. Great place to come if you're a pitcher.
2-2 the count on Duda, who tonight is 1 for 3.
thing is, too, is if you are a free agent, why L.A. becomes attractive is they're going to go out and spend money and do everything they can to win. That hasn't been the case the last few years.
That's in the dirt, blocked by Ellis, and a full count on Duda. That said, I think Carlos Lee would at least give them a legitimate presence in the lineup. If he
gives them a presence, and he gives them something better than what they have, but does it really make a lot of sense? Is he going to give you a lot of production? I guess the point is I'd exhaust all options before I go there.
Ground ball to the first baseman, picked up and to the bag is Rivera, and it's a 1-2-3 inning for Coffey. Good work by him. Bottom of the 8th. Dodgers bat down 5. By Budweiser on a beautiful night in Los Angeles. As we show you around the town, we go to the bottom of the 8th inning with the sun starting to set. Johan Santana's working on a one-hitter with Van Slyke. The pitcher's spot, and Bobby Abreu's come into the on-deck circle. And then Tony Gwynn Jr. Van Slyke fouls it back. And that's strike one. We're talking with Steve Horn, our editorial consultant, and he was saying, you know, the Mets have, for a while, and until this year really, have always been defined by one-hitters. You know, they never had a no-hitter before Santana got one on the 1st of June. And this one-hitter, which would have been number 38 in franchise history in the 3rd of the year, is gone as Van Slyke reaches out and gets a base hit that falls in front of Nieuwenhuisen left.
Even though with the base hit, I think I can still safely say that there haven't been any real hard hit balls today by the Los Angeles Dodgers. I'd say the closest thing was a double play that Van Slyke hit earlier in the game.
Abreu now with one on, nobody out. Batting for Coffey, who did a nice job. He went an inning and a third, all zeros with a strikeout. Miguel Batista, a right-hander. Tim Burdack is a left-hander getting loose for the Mets. Burdack has been busy this season. One on, nobody out. Abreu takes a ball outside. Bobby started the season with the Angels. was cut by LA in April. Spent 3 years in Anaheim. 38 years old, and he's approaching 2,500 hits. This won't get him any closer. Into center for Torres, and that's out number 1. Today's game, presented by Budweiser, is sponsored by the makers of Bayer Advanced Aspirin, the official pain reliever of MLB, and by Samsung. The next big thing is here. Here's Tony Gwynn Jr., 1-on, 1 out. Gwynn is grounded out, struck out. Takes the ball. That's a strike. It's 1-1. When you see Tony Gwynn Jr., you obviously think of the great hitting machine Tony Gwynn, but this guy's uncle Chris, Tony's brother, played for the Dodgers 2 different times. I'm sure at some point intersected with you.
Well, did I played along Chris? Excellent hitter.
Here's a 1-1. That is a fair ball down the left field line. Going to third and now holding is Van Slyke, and Gwynn has to go all the way back to first. He was halfway to second as Scott Van Slyke stopped at second base. A single for Tony Gwynn Jr.
Well, really the smart move by Van Slyke. Ball right down the line. You see Tony Gwynn just shoots it by David Wright. Neuenhuis gets over there real quick. Van Slyke, he's got that play in front of him. You know, he doesn't need to look at the third base coach. He makes a judgment to stay. Tony Gwynn, he's going, hey, I'm going to second. That's a double. Maybe not.
So now 2 on with 1 out in a 5-0 game, and Adam Kennedy, who is 0 for 1 since entering this game in the 6th inning. Digs his way in. Pitch number 99 on the night is strike 1. Dan Worthen on the left, Terry Collins on the right, wondering how much longer Santana can go in this one.
And you see Ike Davis playing way back, not even entertaining any kind of bunt. But this is a situation, Dodgers, hey, you got nothing to lose.
That's to Davis, picks it up, goes to the bag for out number 2, and the runners advance to second and third.
But those are the sorts of things, you're down by 5 runs. Left-handed hitters struggle against Santana. Ike Davis basically playing out in right field. Could have dropped something down easily to make something happen. Nice play by Ike Davis here.
And the right play to go to the bag. And
absolutely.
Not try and force anything at second base.
Just get the out.
And bring in D. Gordon, who's hitting just .226. Up until this inning, had the only hit tonight for the Dodgers.
And if he could take a bunt with him, go to the second baseman again, he gets on base here.
Strike 1.
Santana falling off the mound more towards the third base side.
Van Slyke at third. Tony Gwynn Jr. at second, 2 out. Santana trying to get through 8. That's probably it for him tonight. Now over 100 pitches on the evening. Strike 2. Dodgers 2 for 31 over their last 6 games with runners in scoring position. Looking for a big hit here out of D. Gordon. Still 0-2.
Well, you mentioned that number. It's actually kind of amazing that they've had 31 at-bats with runners in scoring position over that time. And that's how much they've struggled.
The 0-2. Reaching for it and just getting a piece is Gordon. So here are the Dodgers coming into this game having scored 2 runs over their last 5 games, and during those 5 games they've hit 174 as a team under Don Mattingly, and they've been shut out tonight on just 3 hits. Second and third, 2 out. Just slapping at it. Stay up there 0-2.
Well, the Dodgers, when they're done with the Mets here, have the Reds coming in. Then they go to Arizona.
With 2 out. Ball 1 high.
There's hitting coach Dave Hansen. Done a real commendable job through this stretch right here.
He's living through this drought with him as David Wright makes the play, gets Gordon, and the Dodgers have been shut out through 8. We go to the 9th inning. Santana in charge tonight. So are the Mets. They lead this one. Game 3 of a 4-game set. 5-0. Out innings, he allowed 3 hits. He struck out 3, walked 2, and really got into his only jam in the bottom of the 8th inning and got out of it by getting D. Gordon on a ground ball to third as the right-hander Josh Lindblom takes over. 36th game, good ERA, and part of that good Dodger bullpen. He gives up a base hit to Murphy, who is red hot. Daniel has a sac fly, a double, now a single. He has scored a run. And he's on to start the 9th inning with Neuenhuis coming up. Kirk 1 for 3 on the night. Last chance for the Dodgers, who will try to avoid their 5th shutout over the last 6 games. The bottom of this 9th inning will have Herrera, the number 2 batter, then Hairston, then Juan Rivera. One on, nobody out. Neuenhuis at the plate. Lindblom misses with ball 1. 66 hits on the year for Kirk. Waiting for a 1-0 pitch from another big right-hander coming out of that Dodger pen. It's outside again, 2-0. Dylan G and Clayton Kershaw hook up tomorrow in the finale of this 4-game set. Reigning Cy Young Award winner, just 5-4, good ERA. Pitch was up and Neuenhuis unloaded, strike 1.
See Clayton right there.
Tonight's starter for the Dodgers, Nathan Eovaldi, went 5 1/3. Had a rough 6th inning, otherwise pretty good night. But again, he's getting used to it. No run support, and Rivera misses it altogether. Down on a knee, going first to third is Murphy. Digging into second is Neuenhuis. Nobody out.
Well, Rivera should have had that ball. That thing was hard hit, but at least got to get in front of that. Van Slyke heading over to cut the ball off.
It's a double for Neuenhuis. No error on Rivera, who I'm sure had designs on a 3-6-3 double play. Instead, it's a double. Second and third, nobody out. And the batter will be Tolley. And the infield is in, including D. Gordon, the shortstop, who comes in late. Omar Quintanilla has come into the on-deck circle. He will bat for Santana. Tolley with a sac fly tonight, his 10th RBI of the year. He's 0 for 2. Big rip on a high delivery. The count 0-2. Bobby Parnell, who was taken over as the closer with Francisco, the closer for the Mets, usual closer, on the DL with a strain in his side. And Belisario, the right-hander, who's had a great year, gets loose for the Dodgers in their pen. Tolley with another good swing, still 0-2.
You know, remember, it was just a few days ago that the Mets were mired in a mini slump of their own. It wasn't until Wednesday where they blasted the Cubs. Terry Collins wasn't happy with the way they'd been playing, especially on Tuesday in Chicago. But this is a darn good ball club. This isn't some underdog ball club.
That's Rivera. Runner holds at third, 1 out in the inning.
That was a nice play by Juan. Kept it in front. Kind of looked like he fell on it. Gets over and
attention please for the Mets.
Keeps it there.
Santana, number 6, Omar Quintanilla.
And now Quintanilla will bat as Rivera made that play to his left. 1 out. Quintanilla for Santana. 8 innings, no runs, 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts for Johan, who will move to 6-4. Unless the Dodgers pull off the unexpected in the bottom of the inning.
Well, and he just missed the barrel of the bat all day long. Nobody squared him up. Had a great outing.
Good swing by Quintanilla. So even with Ronnie Cedeno back, even with Ruben Tejada back, they want to keep Quintanilla. They think if they expose him, trying to send him back to the minor leagues, they'll lose him. And with the way Terry Collins' team has gone through shortstops this season, that's not an appealing thought. They like what Quintanilla did when he got the chance playing for him, Ruben Tejada, when he was out with a strained quad. Here comes the 0-1. The ball and a strike from Lindblom. .265 average for Quintanilla, 4 RBIs, 1 home run. 2 guys sitting out there for him with the infield still in. Murphy at third, Neuenhuis at second, 1 out and a 1-1 pitch. Strike 2, and that takes the mask off the face of A.J. Ellis.
You watch this. Just boom.
That's usually when Tim McCarver says, I don't miss that.
I don't know anybody that would. You know, and that's why any type of offense you get out of a catcher during the course of the season is added extra, because the beating these guys take day in and day out behind the plate, you can't really do it justice by explaining it.
Counts 1-2 on Quintanilla. And that's strike 3 over the inside corner, 2 out. And so with 2 on, 2 out, the batter will be Andres Torres. And again, we remind you, All-Star Game festivities begin tomorrow with a selection show on TBS. Then July 9th on Monday. Don't miss the Home Run Derby on ESPN. Tuesday, July 10th. The players arrive on the red carpet show on MLB Network, followed by the All-Star Game right here on Fox at 7:30 Eastern, 4:30 Pacific. Second and third, nobody out. Now second and third, 2 out, and strike 1 on Andres Torres, who is 1 for 3 tonight with a single. He's reached on an error. He scored a run, stole a base, was picked off, and doubled off first.
He's got a lot going on tonight.
He's had a busy night. Now looking for RBIs. The 0-1. Strike 2, and Lindblom is 1 good pitch away from getting out of a tight spot here in the ninth. Here's the 0-2. He went around, it appeared. He did, struck him out, and the inning is over. Nice job by Lindblom to get out of the jam. 5-0 still. Mets on top. Parnell getting ready to come in as we go to the bottom of the ninth in Los Angeles. They are put together on the night for Johan Santana. Was good off the mound, was good on the mound. 8 innings pitched. He allowed only 3 hits, struck out 3, and walked just a couple, and he is on his way to win number 6 on the year. As we give you a game summary, Mets have outscored the Dodgers 17-2 in this series. Dodgers have not led now in 60 innings, and barring an incredible comeback here in the ninth, it'll be 61 at the end of the night. Bobby Parnell, who struggled as the closer last year, got the save here on Thursday in a 3-2 game. 1-for-1 since taking over for Francisco. Fires a 95-mile-per-hour strike to Elian Herrera.
Yeah, and that's what you're going to get. Hard, and harder. Got a knuckle curve as well. But he's a strikeout guy.
Here's an 0-1. A high strike, 95 miles per hour, 0-2. No Francisco, it's Parnell. No save opportunity here in the ninth, but Terry Collins wanting to slam the door. No work last night for Parnell. Here's the 0-2. Chop to Ike Davis. Easy play to the bag, 1 out. So 1 down, and the batter will be Jerry Hairston Jr. The producer of tonight's game is Pete Macheska. The director, Bill Webb. Associate Director Brian Biederman. The broadcast associate is Matt Saldana. Executive producers of the pregame show, Don Bowie, Mike Santini, and the producer, Ethan Kleinberg, and the director, Mark Deaver. And our thanks, as always, to Steve Horn as editorial consultant here in the broadcast booth. With 1 out, nobody on, here is Hairston. Strike 1 on Hairston, who tonight is 0 for 3. Only hits belong to D. Gordon, Scott Van Slyke, and Tony Gwynn Jr. 3 singles, that's it. To the shortstop. Tejada gets that high bounce and takes it over to first, 2 out. As the Mets pitchers working on their 10th shutout of the season.
Yeah, the bottom line of the Mets are just good. They're just flat out good. They're a team that, if they can maintain the pitching, it'll keep them in ball games, because they've got one of the top staffs in the National League. They continue to get good pitching. There's no reason why they won't be competitive the entire second half. Terry Collins has done a great job with these guys.
Dan Warden has done a great job of the rotation, obviously, and they're trying to figure out the bullpen. Now it's Parnell at the back end, but this is a relief corps that has the highest group ERA in baseball. Parnell got a piece. That might end the game. Murphy to first, and the Mets win it 5-0. And now the Dodgers have been shut out 5 times over their last 6 games. And the Mets have won 4 in a row. Ike Davis with a big 3-run shot in this game, and Johan Santana gets the win. The Mets keep on rolling. We'll try for a 4-game sweep tomorrow behind Till and G against Clayton Kershaw. From the MLB Network studios, Matt and Kevin coming up.